By uniting our intentions, we create a wave of love that traverses all dimensions, touching each being with its divine essence.
Once upon a time, there was a man in South India who wanted to get supernatural powers. Immediately our man set forth on a journey to Tibet. 1 week of intense practice. He could not sit, stand or sleep. Now he went back, all the way back to Tibet once again. Many things in life seem to be romantic and magical. Right now, the flowers are blossoming in the jasmine plant out there. Such nice fragrance, looks magical, romantic, but there is a science and technology as to how to make it happen. Yes or no? One who knows what the plant needs and does the right thing, only he will have maximum flower and maximum fragrance, isn't it? Yes? So if you want flowers in your garden, what do? Flower, 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 flower meditation. No flower meditation needed. You don't even have to think of a flower. You have to think of soil, you have to think of manure, you have to think of water, you have to think of sunlight, no flowers. If you handle these things right, flowers will happen. Flower is a consequence, fragrance is a consequence, it is not something that you do. Similarly, meditation is not something that you do. If you handle the body, the mind, the emotion and the energy properly, you become meditative. If you try to meditate, you will go crazy. I must tell you one story. Once upon a time, there was a man in South India who wanted to get supernatural powers. What are supernatural powers, you know? Supernatural powers, you know what they are? Somebody wants to walk upon water, somebody wants to fly without an airplane, everybody walks on the floor, so somebody wants to walk on the ceiling. Essentially, circus. They want to do something that nobody can do. So the man wants supernatural powers. He went from guru to guru. So many gurus he saw. Everybody said no. Then someone told him, these South Indian gurus, no good, no good. Because they're too conservative, they won't give you all this. I know a monk in Tibet where he has all the supernatural powers you want and he is willing to give it to you. Immediately our man set forth on a journey to Tibet. From South India to Tibet, walking across Himalayas, not an easy journey, but our man is determined. He wants supernatural powers, so he went all the way. He went to this monastery, the Buddhist monastery. The culture in the Buddhist monastery is very different from what we know here in South India. Here, people have been taught that Atiti Devo Bhava, that means a guest is God. If somebody comes to your home as a guest, you must treat that person like a god. Even if he happens to be your enemy somewhere else, when he comes to your home, you must treat him like a god. You must be saying in India, people see you and they're doing this because they want to treat you like a god. Because you come here, when they come to your place, they'll be different. But now that you're here, they want to treat you like a god. But in the Buddhist monastery, there is no such culture. If you go there, Nobody will ask you who you are. Not because they don't care for you, because in their life, the biggest thing about their life is to find out who am I. If a new person comes just now, as soon as he comes, you ask him, who are you? It's a very big question. Yes? Very big question, isn't it? So they don't want to embarrass you with such a big question. So a new person has come, if you do not ask him, who are you, what is the next possibility? Where do you come from? Do you know where you come from? Now you came from China, that's not the point. Where do you really come from, do you know? From where you came into this life, do you know? Do you know? No. Where is it? Mother. Okay, to mother's belly, where did you come? You really don't know where you came from, isn't it? So they don't want to embarrass you with that question either. A new person has arrived, you don't ask him who you are or where you come from, not much room for conversation, so they don't talk to you. Lunch means there is a bell. If you want, you can go and eat. If you don't eat, nobody will force you because fasting is an important part of Buddhist life. If you are not eating, it is greatly respected, nobody will come and say, come and eat, because they think you're fasting. This is a strange situation for this man from South India, because in South India, you must know this, if you go to somebody's home, it doesn't matter at which time of the day you go, you must eat. You tell them, no, 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 I just had my dinner and came. It doesn't matter, you come to my home, you must eat. Because this is hospitality. This is a sure way to the hospital. Nobody asked him who you are, where you come and eat, nothing. He just hung around. When hunger overtook him, he went and ate and just hung around. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. 3 weeks passed away. Nobody spoke to him. After 3 weeks, the old monk who was there called him. He knows why this man has come. He said, what will you do with supernatural powers? What will you do walking upon water? After 3 days, a boat will be better, you know. I will teach you the way of meditation. With this you can live a fruitful life. Our man said, no, 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 I don't want your meditation. You think to learn meditation I have to come to Tibet? In India we know every kind of meditation. Don't you forget, Gautama the Buddha is an export from India. In many ways the monk tried to dissuade him, but our man was determined, I want supernatural powers. Then the monk said, okay, if you must have it, tomorrow morning, 4 o'clock, take a dip in the river and come here. Let's see what we can do. The secrets of supernatural, I will give it to you. Our man went 4 o'clock in the morning, had a dip in the river. This is not South India, this is Tibet. Temperatures are all minus. He took a dip, turned half blue. He went and sat in front of the monk. The monk looked at his condition and his determination. He said, see, this is very simple. There are 3 mantras. You utter these 3 mantras 3 times over, all the supernatural will be yours. Shall I reveal the mantras to you? Buddham sharanam gacchami, dhammam sharanam gacchami, sangham sharanam gacchami. These three mantras, three times over you utter, all the supernatural is yours. Only thing is, when you're uttering the mantra, you should not think about a monkey. Is that all? That is all. Can I go, please? Our man came out of the monastery really jumping with joy. The fool of a monk revealed all the secrets of supernatural, and he tells me, don't think about a monkey. What does he know about my culture? Here we think of Vedas, Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, these are all the great scriptures. Why will I think about a monkey? Am I a hunter? I have not seen a monkey in the last 10 years. Like this, thinking about monkeys, he came down to the Indian part of Himalayas. There is a sacred river in India, you heard of this? He came down to the sacred river Ganga, had a dip in the river, sat down. Buddham, monkey. Monkey means another dip in the river. Sat down, Buddham, monkey, another dip in the river. Buddham, monkey, another dip in the river. In various yoga postures he tried. Bu means monkey comes. 1 week of intense practice, he came to your place, he does not have to do anything. Only monkeys, inside monkeys, outside monkeys, a universe full of monkeys. Now, he could not sit, stand or sleep, monkeys everywhere, inside, outside, everywhere monkeys. Now he went back, all the way back to Tibet once again. He went to the monk and said, I don't want your supernatural powers, first relieve me from these monkeys. Now, this is the nature of your mind. If you say, I don't want something, only that will happen in your mind, isn't it? Only monkeys. No, don't think of a monkey. No, you cannot think of a monkey. Only monkey. The more you do that, more monkeys will happen. Or what I'm saying is, without understanding the fundamental nature of the mind, if you try to do something head-on with it, you will go crazy. So many things that you think you want to forget, you will never forget. Things that you want to remember, you always forget, isn't it? Yes or no? Huh? Because without understanding the fundamentals of mind, we are trying to operate the mind. This is the most sophisticated machine on the planet, but you're going at it somehow. If you go at it somehow, sometimes it works. Most of the time, unfortunately, most people's minds are working against those people. When you were 5 years of age, when you were only that much, how joyful you were, and today, how joyful you are. Has it gone up or gone down? That means your mind is working against you. It is working against you simply because without understanding the fundamentals of what it is, you're trying to operate it. If you have a sharp knife, you must have a steady hand, yes? Yes or no? If you have a very sharp knife, you must have a very steady hand. Unsteady hand, you will either cut yourself or cut somebody. Yes or no? That's all that's happening right now. Once you became a human being, you have a sharp knife, no steady hand. That's why yoga, to create a very steady hand, so this sharp knife can be used the way we want, that it will not cut us all the time. Right now, all the misery that you see on the planet, all the human misery, that is happening on this planet. Where is the manufacturing unit? Shanghai? Where is the manufacturing unit? In your mind. Every kind of misery is manufactured only here. This should be manufacturing bliss for you, ecstasy for you, but it's manufacturing misery because there's no stable platform, it's all over the place. Once this mind begins to work for you, once you are blissful by your own nature, there is no fear of suffering. Once you become like this within yourself, that your mind takes instructions from you, whatever happens, I will keep this blissful, this will become magic. This will become a fantastic instrument of well-being. Now you would like to explore the full depth and dimension of this life.
Continued, I would have never faced my present predicament. Now, the Bhujangasana or cobra position, which is also known as Mackenzie something, is critical for the health of my spine. There are many other asanas or positions which can help me get my strength back as I feel little better and able to practice those. The asanas will not only help gain my physical strength, but it will contribute to my mental strength through the meditational aspects of yoga. I thought I will share my most recent experience so that others like me in similar lifestyle situations can also learn and prevent the situation that I am in. Let's do yoga every day and not just one day in the year. Thank you.
May I now offer the floor to the distinguished permanent representative of Georgia. Excellency.
I was thinking about asking questions, but in fact, it's not as much as asking questions, but how what you told us echoes in all of us. And it really does, because what we take from here, from all this wonderful conversation that we just had, is how complex things are indeed very simple if we indeed try to. As a person who is really honored and humbled to be here as a representative of my country, who was one of the 177 who co-sponsored Yoga International Day, I'm also a practitioner, or rather a very bad student to the school that I'm attending. That school is called Yoga in Daily Life, which is in the United States, in many parts of Eastern Europe particularly, but headquartered in Rajasthan, in Katu, led by Vishwaguru Sri Swami Maheshwaranandaji. And what I learned from my personal experience, because after all, the oneness is sharing his personal experiences also, is what Patanjali said, that it's about having your mind free of disturbances. And if we indeed attain to be free of disturbances, we find peace with our mind that can really transcend and somehow start this chain reaction of peacefulness and oneness that we all long for, particularly in this organization. I'm glad that we have so many colleagues by now, or calling from Bangladesh. My good friend who sits next to me is also avid yoga practitioner, and many. And it is indeed probably high time what you just mentioned when Prime Minister of India said that we needed International Day of Yoga. It came indeed on a right time, and I'm glad that I was here on the right moment and right time. Thank you for your presence here. Thank you for your blessing. And indeed, if we try to, I think we can really attain that we are without disturbance, and we find this oneness and unity, and we tick those 17 goals one by one. And I really hope to, and I'm looking forward to that day when we will no longer have this beautiful poster behind you, because we will have that completed, because SDGs, in a way, to me, is somehow a manifestation of our common failure too, that we have to talk about SDGs. But it's good that we are starting to talk about it and we are making it happen. Hopefully, and I believe in that, yoga will create that oneness that will permeate our work in this organization, in this chamber, and otherwise. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.
May I now offer the floor to the distinguished permanent representative of Liechtenstein. Excellency, you have the floor.
I came from the probably most non-spiritual angle possible to yoga. I was essentially dragged against my will 17 years ago by a then girlfriend into yoga class, and I viewed myself as this big soccer player and cyclist and all these other things, and thought really this is not for me. And to my credit, I had to say already after the class, well, there is something there. And that is something that is worth exploring. And I've been doing yoga ever since. And if there's one thing that I believe I will be doing until the end of my life, it is yoga. Because everyone can do it. Every person of every age, of every state of health, really. Yoga is for everyone, which is, I think, one of its wonderful qualities. The other thing is, even if you come from that non-spiritual place that I came from, you realize over time that something happens with you, and that there is for me today no other way of connecting with myself, with my mind, with my body, the way I can in yoga. Sometimes I find out when I do yoga that before I did it, I didn't know how I was that day, and the moment I do it, I feel how I am, and I'm able to connect to myself, and that's also, I think, really the precondition for being able to connect with others. In looking at the theme and in thinking about this, for me the connection is very simple. The SDG agenda, tells us we know what the problems are, we know what the solutions are. We have to simply change our ways to get there, and then we can do this together. And I think this is where yoga can make a huge contribution. If you think it's not for you, try it one time. And I think it will be for many of you. Actually, I think it is for everybody. And one of my, small moments of happiness in life today is to take a person to yoga, because that just makes you happy. And this is why I'm offering a class tomorrow morning to some of you in the room, and you're gonna come say it with many others, and I really look forward to that. Thank you so much.
For now, I have the honor to recognize another yoga master we have with us. In fact, Yogamata Keiko Aikawa has joined us for this event all the way from Japan.
Dear distinguished guests, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, spiritually, I come from a tradition and lineage that from the time immemorial have kept and shared with humanity the teachings of yoga. Yoga is a science that, especially with meditation, facilitates the harmony of the body, the emotions, and the mind. When these elements are in harmony, the individual becomes calm and peaceful in his heart. If the individual is calm and peaceful in his heart, this permeates in the community and thus in the world. I can attest from my own experience that by learning these practices, it is possible for everyone to awaken your own energies and achieve peace, love, and harmony. I deeply believe that if we as individuals feel peace and harmony in ourselves, that this will lead to love and peace being spread throughout the world. I thank you very much for enabling me to be present today.
Thank you, Yogamata, for that message of love. May I now offer the floor to the distinguished permanent representative of Nepal.
I come from Nepal, from the eastern hills of Nepal, a place, an environment which is extremely conducive for yoga, and I also come from a family and community practicing yoga. But then I'm always worried about this question of accessibility. It has to do with the commercialization of yoga today. The commercialization and hundreds and thousands of different types of yoga getting into the heads of young minds and different ages of people, mostly also in terms of fashion, in the forms of fashion. What would be your wise guidance to us to deal with the perhaps unnecessary or over-commercialization of yoga?
Whatever becomes reasonably popular, there will be enterprise around that. You shouldn't be surprised when you step out on the Times Square, people will be selling yoga t-shirts and yoga whatever, okay? We shouldn't be distracted or disturbed by these things. This is a part of a social thing, it happens. At the same time, the core of yoga is not disturbed in any way. On the surface, there are small distortions here and there. I would say for the larger public to start with, like this year, when, about 4 months ago, when I came to know that over 9,000 children below 18 years of age committed suicide in India and over 1,700 below 13 years of age committed suicide. I just thought, if our children start committing suicide, we are doing something fundamentally wrong. A child is a fresh life, a child is an exuberant life. A child should be a bundle of joy, but instead of that, they're deciding to take their own life, which is deeply disturbing. This is not a statement about the child who took his life, but this is a statement about all of us. What are we doing with our societies? So, off the cuff, I said, let's touch 10,000 schools. But today, with the cooperation of various state governments, we are touching nearly 30,000 schools, over 20 million children. Why I'm saying this, why this has become possible is because we are offering what is called as Upa-yoga. Upa-yoga means pre-yoga or sub-yoga. Why this effort towards Upa-yoga is, if you offer yoga, however innocuous the practice may look to start with, it has a spiritual dimension to it. Transmitting spiritual dimension to an unconscious population who are not ready for it, and without a certain level of expertise in the teachers, could be responsible over a period of time. So, we are teaching Upa-yoga, which has mainly physiological and psychological benefits, and here you can't do anything wrong, it's on the video. All the teacher has to do is make corrections and make sure people are not doing it wrong. I think it's a good way to spread yoga in the world is through Upa-yoga. Upa-yoga, the word Upa-yoga in Indian languages today has acquired the meaning of being useful, but actually it originates from this, that it's a pre-yoga or sub-yoga, or a startup yoga it is. And it's best to start that way with large populations, because when you start off an unconscious spiritual process for people, many of them may not be ready for it, even if it's a good thing. Even if good thing happens to you when you're not ready for it, things may not work very well. So, Upa-yoga is a very distinct way and a safe way to take yoga to the world large scale. After this happens, once they feel the benefits, once they experience what difference it makes, they will naturally seek yoga in a more serious manner, and that is when yoga should come into their lives. This could solve the concern that you expressed, but at the same time, somebody is doing something funny in the name of yoga, it doesn't concern me, because those things will always happen. But it's good that even commercial establishments are talking yoga. This means it's really on.
I will now call upon Mr. Herman Bravo, who is the president of the Yoga Club right here at the UN. Mr. Bravo, you have the floor.
Yoga is more than an instrument of personal transformation. Yoga has, as many of the speakers have mentioned, particularly Sadhguru, a social dimension. All that because the word yoga, as Tao remember us, yoga means union. Union between the body and the mind, union between us and other human beings, union between human beings and nature. And it is because of that interdependence and that interconnection that we are able to solve many of the problems. We have many problems, but we have to be optimistic, because the solution is by changing ourselves. Many of these strategies organized by the UN, they have a political meaning. They have the access to technologies, and they have the will at the political level. But all that is not going to work unless we go at the individual level. Yoga means personal transformation. And because of that, the International Day of Yoga should be a wonderful opportunity to remind all of us that every day in our life should be a yoga day. Namaste.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Ms. Neta Menabde, who is the Executive Director of the Office of the World Health Organization here at the United Nations. Ms. Menabde, you have the floor.
It's a great pleasure and an honor to attend this celebration today. And indeed, this is a very unusual event for the United Nations because it is deeply reflective and it's not composed of prepared speeches that people deliver in a more formal way. It actually moves all of us here to think deeply of what is being said, what is being done, what is being conveyed by you here, and how we can individually and collectively respond to this call of the International Yoga Day. I have spent 5 years of my life in India before coming here in New York. And of course, for me, it's something very special to be here today at this day. And it's special because you mentioned, Sadhguru, that we cannot call or compare and say that yoga is Indian, but it comes from India. And indeed, it is India's gift to the humankind, to all over the world. And it is very special because of that. And I could see the impact of yoga practice on communities in India. So it makes a difference. And this is why this is such a great gift of civilization. The whole country in India, every quarter of it, breathes essence of yoga. And it is the civilization calm of yoga that has moved me when I was there. In my work, we are dealing with health issues. It is no news now that yoga is very good for health, but we also know now that health is no longer a standalone one of the Sustainable Development Goals. It is actually determinant for any other goal to be achieved. Therefore, yoga has a very different meaning and different, indeed, interconnecting nature, because it does help people to feel better, live better, breathe better, act better, unite better, come into interconnectedness, which is indeed essential for sustaining our planet and connects planet to people. So therefore, of course, we know today, proven through many clinical trials, that yoga helps in many conditions, mental health conditions, depression, heart conditions, many other conditions, joint and so on. So this is not new. But there has been traditional resistance to integrate yoga practice and other perhaps traditional medicine practices, which are, of course, available worldwide, but known also in India, to integrate them to the allopathic medicine. And this resistance is slowly being overcome. We as WHO are trying to put our support into this process. Recently, this year in May, in fact, India has signed an, I would say, landmark agreement with the World Health Organization to promote traditional medicine, yoga included, and to ensure quality and safety of these traditional practices, but more so to integrate these practices into our health services, primary health care, and all other services that we know. So it is now deeply understood that as all of human beings need some or another kind of health services, be it vaccination if they are very healthy, or any other more serious services, they also need to practice yoga because it prevents many illnesses, it also gives peace of mind, it teaches us how to cope with all those different things that modern life stress puts on human brain. And therefore, we stand forward and we want to support promotion and inclusion of yoga into medical practice all over the world. We will collaborate with India on that. But my question to you would be, is there any good secret beyond of what you have said? How we can bring these different dimensions of health together, integrate them in a better way, and make sure that yoga is no longer seen as something separate from what we do in health services traditionally. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here today.
When our commitment has to shift to health, not to a particular system. People are married to a particular system most of the time, and they defend that system at any cost, no matter what. Every system in the world has something to contribute. But instead of being committed to health, we are committed to those systems. Because of this, there has been a lot of dislocation in how health can come about. So in southern India, in the rural part of Tamil Nadu, we brought this about. These 5 dimensions, allopathy, Siddha, Ayurveda, Unani and Yoga together practice along with the naturopathy way of doing things. It has done miraculous things to the populations. We were the first pilot project by the Ayush project when it started 10 years ago. Now Ayush has become a ministry. I think yesterday or in the last week they've declared a Ayush University, which means Ayurveda, Yoga, Siddha and all these things put together. This we started almost 15 years ago, and today it is an active part. What we have done is, we have medical vans which go with an allopathic doctor and a Siddha doctor, plus we have created over 112 or 13 village gardens where we grow herbs, over 100 and odd different types of herbs in a common piece of land where people are taught how to make use of it. For small things like stomachache, headache, fever for the children, diarrhea, these kind of things, all our grandmothers knew how to treat this. Unfortunately, even for these, people are going to the doctors today, and the way it is being treated with elaborate medication, generally in rural India, the cost of the medicine, if you fall sick for 15 days, it takes a year for you to recover with the economics of the family, gets hit for almost a year. If 15 days somebody is down and they visit the doctor and the volume of medication and treatment that happens kind of economically sets them back quite a bit. So our commitment is to health, not to a particular system. And right now, the government of India is doing serious efforts to integrate this thing, and we've been doing this for over 15 years very effectively. I must tell you, a simple thing in rural India which can be… I was just last 1 week I was in Africa, even there I thought this is something that'll work. We created what is called as a wave of health. About simple things, how health can be created within the family, for every family. One of the things that was done, I won't go into all the details, one simple thing we did was, every home should have a papaya tree, a banana tree, a murungu tree and a patch of green. This transformed health situations in such a big way. You won't believe such a small initiative, such a simple initiative, what a difference it has done to people's lives. Like this small initiative can be brought because considering the economics of those families, it's very important we need to come up with solutions that works for them. In this, yoga practice has a significant role because creating a vibrant, healthy, vibrant and effervescent population is very, very important to fulfill the sustainable goals. If we don't create that kind of population, we will be only talking about sustainability, it will not happen. We need to create this, and the goal is the tools of self-transformation should not be in the hands of a guru or an organization or some other authority. The idea is to bring this into everybody's life. Like today, everybody owns a toothbrush, which has created oral health. Just like that, everybody should have some tools for self-transformation. It is with this kind of commitment that we are going ahead, and there is a big support now in the world, wherever we go. In the remotest parts of Africa that I was there in the last 1 week, it was incredible to see that all of them know about yoga. I know this 25 years ago when I went into rural India in a big way, they knew what is Coca-Cola, but they did not know what is yoga. But today in the remotest part of Africa, people know what is yoga. This is transformation in many ways.
Thank you, Sadhguruji. And now, would you like to reflect on this question?
I'd like to thank you all. There's been so much beauty in this room and so much intelligence of what the world is all about and what we are all about and what we're going to do about it. And I think that it's absolutely fantastic to sit here and listen to all of the things that I've pondered for so many years and wondered about, not always finding the answers. But today was a revelation and a very special thing to happen to the whole world. In this room, you've started something that we've needed for a long time. It's out in the open now. Yoga is beautiful, but yoga is only beautiful if we use it and we make it part of our lives. I want to thank you all.
I now give the floor to Mr. Rajiv Lalla, who has joined us all the way from Texas.
If you could help us understand the role of a guru, of a teacher, not in the true academic sense where a STEM professor teaches me science and technology, but rather coming from humanity and that union among all of us.
When you say a Sadhguru, you're saying an uneducated guru. That's what it means. Because you don't come to a Sadhguru to know about the scriptures, you don't come to Sadhguru to know about rituals. Because the only thing that I know is, I know this piece of life from its origin to its ultimate, and this is all I know. By knowing this, by inference, you know just about everything because everything is made the same way. Today there is something called as a constructional theory, where they're talking about how the atom and the cosmos are essentially fundamentally same design, only the sophistication and complexity is multiplying. So the amoeba and you and me are made the same way, only the complexity has multiplied. Having said that, in what way is a guru relevant means you're trying to walk on uncharted terrain. Every year, I trek in the Himalayas, in Nepal and Tibet. Once you go into the mountains, that illiterate Sherpa who is there, who has not been to school, but if he says right, you turn right, if he says left, you turn left. You better do that, otherwise you won't come back. You do that because he knows the terrain. The same goes for this. This is just an inner terrain. It's best to walk with somebody who's already walked the path. Otherwise, simple things will become complicated. What is next door, you will go around the world and come back to it. All this complication about, for example, today if you utter the word meditation, people think something very difficult to do. To put it simply, first of all, the word meditation, English word meditation, does not describe anything in particular. If you sit with your eyes closed, they're saying you're meditating. With your eyes closed, you can do japa, tapa, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, shunya. There are any number of things you could do. Or you might have just mastered the art of sleeping in vertical pose. It happens. So, when we say meditation, we must understand it's not an act, it is a quality. It is like you want flowers in your garden. If you want flowers in your garden, you don't have to sit there and do flower meditation. You don't have to think flowers. You have to think soil, manure, water, sunlight. Have nothing to do with flowers. But if you do those things, flowers will happen because it's a consequence. Right now, because we have gotten into this madness of being a goal-oriented society, we are interested in the flower, we are not interested in the plant. This is the fundamental that the yoga will change within you. You understand that you have to handle the process right for a consequence to happen. So in yoga there is a saying that if you're goal-oriented, your one eye will be on the goal. That means you will find your way only with one eye, which is an inefficient way of doing things. If you use both your eyes to find your way, it's much more efficient. So, why is a guru needed? It can be done without it. I'm asking you a simple question. Even to learn ABC, the alphabet, you needed a teacher. But you could have learnt it by yourself, maybe you would have taken a lifetime, but the teacher taught it to you in a month or two. That's a big difference. So, like somebody was talking to me and they asked, what is this guru about? I said, this is the GPS. A living GPS, a guru positioning system, you know. If you want to find your way, it's best in uncharted terrain, unknown terrain, it's best to walk with somebody who's already done the terrain once or many times. Otherwise, simple things will become very complex.
And it's my pleasure to recognize Ms. Denise Cotto, who is the chair of the International Yoga Day Committee at the United Nations and an executive board member of the United Nations Staff Recreation Council Enlightenment Society. Denise, you have the floor.
The International Day of Yoga Committee at the UN came into existence last year in the summer after the first International Day of Yoga. Sri Chinmoy, years ago, his vision was to have peace meditations with the staff, and he started the yoga club, which German is the president of. How do you see the UN system, meaning the secretarial staff who work here, the diplomats from the different countries, business, and the NGOs, civil society, who try to implement the SDGs? How do you see yoga bringing us all together? Thank you so much.
This is being said again and again about peace. So we need to look at this. When we say peace or mental peace as people are talking about it, today even so-called spiritual leaders are talking about peace being the highest goal in one's life. But I would like to ask you, please look at your life and see. If you want to enjoy your dinner tonight, even if you're not ecstatic, at least you must be peaceful to enjoy your dinner. If you want to enjoy the people around you, at least you must be peaceful and happy. If you want to enjoy your walk on the street, you must be peaceful and happy, otherwise this is not possible. So what is very fundamental to… a fundamental requirement in our life, unfortunately we are pushing it as an ultimate goal of our life. To be peaceful is not the highest thing, it is the most basic requirement. If a human being cannot even be peaceful, there is really nothing that they can do. This means that you're not even able to harness your body and mind the way you should. To look at it from one perspective, all human experience has a chemical basis to it. What you call as peace is a certain kind of chemistry, what you call as joy is another kind of chemistry, blissfulness another, ecstasy another, agony another kind, anxiety, fear, stress, tension.
What type of food we should eat so that our life reaches its full potential for a college or a school-going student?
So what kind of food? We must understand this. Food is not a religion, food is not a culture, food is just the fuel for this machine. Yes? There may be cultural aspects to the tastes. There may be even religious tinge to the food over a period of time. But essentially, food is fuel for this body. So with what kind of food will it function with minimum struggle within itself and maximum impact? So suppose you buy a petrol car and pump diesel into it, it may still roll around but not at its optimum. Similarly, various foods you can eat and still somehow it functions. But those communities which have eaten with care, you can clearly see a distinct difference in the way they function, the levels of intelligence and whatever. So in India, we prescribed food for different people in different way. If you're doing menial jobs, you eat one way because you need physical muscle. If you're doing other kinds of trading and other kinds of activities, you eat another way. If you're a fighting class, you eat differently. And now if you're into education, spiritual process and subtler aspects of life, then you eat differently. If you're in education, one of the greatest challenges is to stay focused on something. The goddamn textbook. The wonderful textbook that is written for an average intelligence. It's a common prescription. It's not written for the brilliant student. It is written in a way that it's a common prescription, everybody gets it. But that textbook, how much effort it is taking for a whole lot of people. How they have to read it 10 times to get it. But you lie down in your bed and read a love story, you remember every word. Yes or no? How come? So you don't lack memory, you don't lack focus. It is just that textbook and you chemistry is not working. So what you need is a higher level of focus, a higher level of involvement. And another great enemy for a student is, because this textbook is such a tranquilizer, the moment you open it, go to cinema till 2 a.m. you're up, open the textbook at 9 o'clock, right there, you smash into it. So sleep is another big enemy. So what kind of food do you eat so there is no inertia in the body? In yogic way of seeing things, we are looking at tamas, rajas and sattva. Tamas means inertia, rajas means activity but no balance. Sattva means absolutely balanced kind of energy. When you're in education, you need a very balanced kind of energy because you have to focus on something which doesn't naturally interest you. It's not something with which your chemistry is gelling. If your chemistry is gelling, you are always focused on that one, isn't it? Here there's no chemistry, but you have to focus on that. For this you need a balance and a steady mind. For this you need to eat in a certain way. To put it very simply, food goes through your body through the alimentary canal. From your mouth to your anal outlet, there is a pipe. Through this it runs, going through various stages of digestive process. Many of you are biology people, right? So, it goes through the alimentary canal. Now it begins with the lip. Here, if you look at this, all the herbivores and carnivores. If you look at the animal kingdom, there are herbivores and carnivores are two main segments of animals in the world. One eats vegetable matter, another eats meat. If you look at the alimentary canal, the way it is built, between herbivores and carnivores, there's a distinct difference. Everything in the human being suggests that you are naturally a herbivore, but for the sake of survival, we became carnivores. If you look at the jaw movement, all the carnivorous animals have only cutting action. Herbivores have cutting and grinding action. There are molars, but carnivores don't have widespread molars, they have just incisors, canines, and everything looks like cutting teeth. So they do only this. All the herbivores do grinding. What do you have? Both. So you are supposed to chew your food. Why you are supposed to chew your food is you have enzymes in your saliva where if you take a little bit of raw rice and put it in your mouth just for a minute, you will see it turn sweet right here, because right here carbohydrate is being converted into sugar, right here. So if you eat properly, then we say about 30 to 50% of your digestion should happen in your mouth. So this part of the digestive system is expecting half-digested food or partially digested food. But right now the way we're eating is mostly we're putting not only undigested food, but partially destroyed food. So the amount of food that you need to get the same amount of energy has increased. You are eating much more food than what you should eat to generate that much of energy. Because of that, there is inertia in the body, because it has to process so much more food than what it should. There is inertia. Once there is inertia, your sleep quota increases. How many hours do you sleep on? Hello? 8 hours. You're going by the prescription, huh? See, this is not that you must deny yourself sleep, that's not the point. But if you eat right and do a certain things with your body, you see very effortlessly, within 3 to 4 weeks, you can drop your sleep quota anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. 1.5 to 3 hours very easily you can drop if you just eat consciously and just learn to sit properly, just the posture, your geometry of the body and what goes into the system. If you just manage these two things, you will see sleep quota will just come down like that. Just to tell you, for over 25 years, I have largely managed with an average of 2.5 hours of sleep. Now I'm getting lazy and I'm sleeping, averaging somewhere around 4.5 hours now. But 7 days of the week, okay? 365 days, non-stop, on, almost every day. My daughter didn't call me for a month. I asked, what the hell is the problem with you? Why are you not calling? She said, every 6 hours you're in the new city, what the hell I'm supposed to do? So I said, okay, which is true. In one day, sometimes we're doing 3 cities, so it's a non-stop activity. And today, many people around me have learned to do this. Over 150 people around me are doing this kind of activity, averaging 4 hours sleep and 7 days of the week, they're on, all the time. And they are not irritated, they are not frustrated, they're joyful and they're wonderful. Why this is this? There are many aspects to this, but one important aspect is food, how you eat. Not only what you eat, how you eat is also very important, because food is a live thing. One simple thing all you girls can do is just see various health issues and inertia issue, focus issue, just bring 40 to 50% of the food in its raw form, that means it's alive. It must be a live cell, it can be a vegetable, it can be a fruit, it can be a nut, it can be sprouted gram. At least 40 to 50%, the food that you eat must be alive. You eat dead food and you want to live, this is a little difficult thing to do, because you have to raise the dead now. But if you eat live food, one thing you will see is the state of your mind, your focus and your sleep quotas, and above all, staying awake is not good enough, you have to stay alert, isn't it? How alert you are, how focused you are, only to that extent everything yields to you in this world, isn't it so? What is the level of focus will determine whether the world yields to you or not, isn't it? And one more aspect of life, one more aspect of food is, when you consume something, it must be of a simple genetic code in the sense, it must be a very simple software. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, sprouts, they're very simple. More complicated means animal food becomes more and more complicated. Suppose you eat an animal which has some amount of emotion and a life of its own. Now the code in that, we were talking about this, your body is just an accumulation of memory, which means a certain software, isn't it? This is the most complex software. Human software is the most complex software on the planet of all the creatures. So if you eat an animal, particularly a mammal, if you eat, it has a similar kind of complexity, maybe not as complex as this, similar level of complexity because it has thought and emotion of its own. Now for you to break that code and integrate it into your system, you are not fully successful. So it will leave traces of certain qualities within you. You cannot break that code and make it a part of yours because it's a different and complex code. If you eat a leaf, a vegetable, a fruit, a nut or a sprout, this is much simpler. If you must eat non-vegetarian food, you must eat that which is furthest away from you. So generally, fish and water life is furthest away from you. So if you must eat non-vegetarian food, the best thing to eat is you're on the coast. Fish is the best thing to eat that way.
The soul is sacred for people, the body is filthy. How is it possible? Yes? That's what we've been doing, isn't it so? Saying God is sacred, creation is filthy. How is it possible? The very thought of God occurred to you only because you saw creation, isn't it? When you were born and you opened your eyes, you looked around, so much creation. Before you came here, so much has happened. Obviously, you did not create it. So you thought, there must be a creator. This is how you come to the creator, isn't it? The moment you thought there must be a creator, because you're in a human form, you thought it must be a big man. A small man like me cannot do all this. It must be a big man. Just 2 hands, how can it do so much creation? Must be 8 hands. Isn't it? Isn't it so? If you were a buffalo, you would be really thinking, God is a huge buffalo. Isn't it so? Yes or no? You go and ask a buffalo and see. A buffalo will insist, God is a huge buffalo, maybe 4 horns. You know Idi Amin? You heard of Idi Amin? The Uganda man? Idi Amin declared, God is black. I agree with him. If a white man can have a white God, why can't a black man have a black God? But both those people are confused. We know God is brown. Because he visited us, you know. Some time ago, I was talking to a group of people in Nashville in Tennessee, and I was telling them a joke. In the joke, I just referred to God as Him. Immediately a few ladies stood up. Do you believe God is a man? I knew where it's going. I said, see, I'm only telling you a joke. It doesn't matter. You said him. Do you believe God is a man? They take the jokes very seriously. Now women are arguing, God could be a woman. Such problems exist only in those cultures. In India, we have man God, we have woman God, we have cow God, we have monkey God, we have everything. Every kind, crawling one, creeping one, flying one. Because we foresaw all the problems of the future. See, when man was the most powerful force on the planet, man was naturally God. Now women are also gaining in their power, so women are questioning, why can't it be a woman? So tomorrow suppose dogs gain lot of power which they're gaining, so dogs will ask, why not a dog god? Actually the spelling also is close, you know. He seemed to be closer than you, isn't it? So your idea of God is just an exaggerated version of yourself, isn't it? Your idea of God is just an exaggerated version of yourself. See, you're still not able to define yourself, isn't it? Whatever definition you put on yourself is not correct. Any kind of definition you put on you, it is not enough to describe this one. When this small piece of creation is like this, the source of creation, how are you going to put a definition on it? You cannot define it, you cannot understand it, you can only dissolve into it. You can experience it, you can never know it, you can't make knowledge out of it. Whatever knowledge you have about God is just pure nonsense, cultural nonsense. Depending upon which kind of culture you are in, that kind of God you have, isn't it? It can only be experienced. Experience does not mean you can eat it or you can grasp it. No, you can experience only by dissolving in it. There is no other way. So, we are just looking for methods of dissolution so that we can experience something far bigger than ourselves.
See, when you say love, your experience of love means you feel certain sweetness of emotion within yourself. Either by looking at this person or this person or this person, we don't know who stimulates this in you. It doesn't matter who helped you, but essentially it happened within you, isn't it? Yes? Did it happen only within you or was it in the air? I'm trying to clear this air.
Combination of both.
Really? It was in the air? No, it only happened within you. Maybe what was happening within you was so exuberant, you saw it everywhere. You're in love, you thought the flowers bloomed for you, the birds are singing for you, the clouds are moving for you. Huh? All right, I don't want to destroy all the romance, okay? But essentially it's happening within you. It's wonderful that you're experiencing such sweetness of emotion, stimulated by somebody. You are using the other person as a key to open up an experience within you, essentially. I'm asking you, why are you using a key when there is no lock, when there is no door, when there's no any kind of barrier? It is just that you are a push-start machine. You know what's a push-start machine? If you have owned an Ambassador 25 years ago, always you parked it on a gradient like this, because morning, two people have to push it. If you park it like this, nobody will come, your family will not come out of the house. If it's like this, somebody will come and push it. Now all the cars are self-start, many of them remote start. What does it mean? Technological upgradation. You are an institute of technology, all right? I'm asking, would you like to upgrade your technology that you are on self-start? If you wake up in the morning, you are overflowing with joy and love and exuberance by yourself. You don't need anybody to stimulate you. Would you like to be a self-start machine? Then you must come to me, huh? Whoever is right now doing the love in the air, it's fine with them, you don't have to tell them anything, you say, all right, it's okay. But it's very important you're a self-start machine, otherwise, after some time, you try to extract happiness from the other person. That is when these love affairs become tedious and horrible, because you're trying to extract happiness from the other person. No, life should be like this. When it comes to joy, when it comes to love, when it comes to exuberance of life, you must be the source of this, isn't it? You must be the source of this. Well, other things are shared in life. There are two ways to enter into a relationship. One way is because you want to extract something from somebody. Another way is because you want to share something with somebody. These are two ways. If you're out to share, your life will be good. If you're out to extract, when they close the tap, it's going to get terrible and nasty. You have seen people who thought they're absolute lovers, how terrible it becomes for many of them. Not because there's anything wrong with them, simply because you started off on the wrong footing, thinking, this person is the source of my joy. No, no, no. Joy or misery, the source is within you. Yes or no? Whether it's joy or misery, the source is within you. It's for you to decide. If you're a joyful human being, they will also want to be with you. If you're a misery, they will endure you for some time. Shall I tell you a joke? Are you okay?
Please, Sadhguru.
On a certain day, Shankaran Pillai… What happened? Was walking in a park in the evening, sunset time. He saw a young, pretty-looking woman sitting on a stone bench. You know the park benches? He also went and sat down, settled down on the same bench. After some time, he moved little closer. She moved little away. He allowed a few minutes and again moved little closer. She moved little away. Again he moved closer. Now there was nowhere else to go for her because she was at the end of the bench. She pushed him away. Then he waited for 2 minutes, just the sun to get to the right angle. Then he went down on his knees and he said, I love you. I love you like I have never loved anybody in my life. You know, a woman is a fool for love. And the sun was setting. If it was middle of the afternoon, she wouldn't believe a damn thing. Sun was setting, the ambience was right, and she kind of yielded. Nature took over, things happened between them. Then he looked at his watch, it was 8 o'clock in the evening. He got up and he said, I need to go, I need to go. She said, where are you going? You said you love me. He said, my wife is waiting, I need to go. So, I love you for a whole lot of people is like that, you know, open sesame. You want to get something, maybe your needs are physical, psychological, emotional, financial, social, or we don't know what else. You have needs to fulfill. So you use this mantra and it works. Half the time it works, okay? I'm saying it's important. It is important you know the joy of being loving. Because sweetness of emotion is needed for you if you want to take really big steps in your life. If you do not have sweetness of love in your heart, believe me, if you try to take big steps in the world, particularly in India, you will end up frustrated and go to Canada. In Canada, you meet only moose in most of the countries, so it's okay. You know, business districts of United States and UK and other places, I feel terrible for this woman. All the time they have to be in a certain way. It is so hard to be a woman in the Western country these days. At one time it looked like freedom. You will see it is so extremely difficult to be a woman because she has to be always balancing on four-inch heels, and she has to be dressed like this, and she has to carry these bags like a man. Everything, heavy bags and computers and going here, going there, just doing the same stupid things that man is doing. This is all about how I earned a few dollars more than another man. This is just a stupid way to structure life both for a man and a woman, and for a woman it will lead to lot more suffering. Today, over 40 years of age, I think over 45 years of age, 42% of the women in America are on some kind of antidepressants or something else. This doesn't speak well, this doesn't show that it's worked, isn't it? Well, exploitation comes. Whoever is powerful tries to exploit. See, you must understand it's not about a man or a woman. Whoever has the power
tries to exploit. People are not trying to exploit the woman. They will exploit another man also, a child. Why children are beaten in this world? Simply because they're small. Hello? If your children were bigger than you, would you beat them, I'm asking you? So, anything that is weaker than you, somewhere you think you must exploit. If this has to go, the front end of your life should be your consciousness. Why consciousness is? See, when we sit here, your body is your body, my body is my body, 100%. Till they bury us, we don't understand it's the same stuff. Yes? When they bury us, we get it, it's the same soil. But right now, this is me, that's you, 100%. Now you are very cautiously agreeing, disagreeing, because your mind is your mind, my mind is my mind. Yes? But when it comes to life, there is no such thing as your life and my life. There is just life, this is a living cosmos. You captured a little bit of life, I captured a little bit, somebody else captured a little bit. But it's like blowing soap bubbles. You blew soap bubbles when you were young. So you got only this big bubble, somebody got this big bubble. Same soap, everybody has air in the lungs, but one person gets this big bubble, another person gets this big bubble. Why do you think? Certain level of attention, isn't it? In blowing a simple soap bubble, there is a certain methodology and a technique to it. Now you filled up this much, oop, it went. Then you can't say, this is my air. There's no such thing. So similarly, as you sit here, there is your body and my body, your mind and my mind, there's no such thing as your life and my life. If you put that as the front end of your life, all these discriminations, prejudice, nonsense, your body will not work against you and anybody, your mind will not work against you or anybody, your emotions will not work against you or anybody, because it is the identity which decides how your mind functions, isn't it? Right now this feminism is coming from, I'm identified as a woman. No, physically you're a woman, it's fine. 50% of the population should be women, always. Always it should be. That is good. But your identity need not be 100%. You are identified as a woman at one level, but your identity need not be 100% with your female body, because this means we are identifying with body parts. If we must identify with body parts, why choose reproductive organs? At least choose the brains. But brain is my enemy.
So there's another question from Shruti. This question is for Sadhguru, the style icon. Nowadays, fashion is a multi-billion-dollar industry. At the same time, in the name of fashion, really unappealing gross trends also come out. In the name of fashion, are crossing a line, and how do we identify the line? Are we crossing the line, and how do we identify the line?
The first sentence, withdraw that one, huh? I'm not a style icon or something. See, for those of you who do not know this, the third largest polluter on the planet is fashion industry right now. It's estimated across the world, compared to how many clothes, how much clothing our grandparents had, how much clothing we have is on an average 5 times more. All of you seeing that, isn't it? They're saying by 2025, that will double. That means we'll be 10 times more than our grandparents. Out of this, all this cloth that we are wearing, 98% of it is now synthetic fiber, only 2% is natural fiber. Out of this, 95% is polyfiber. Polyfiber has entered our bodies, has entered the plants, has entered the animals, has entered the food chain, water, soil, everything. This is one thing that's gone under the radar. Everybody is trying to shoot at that little plastic bag, which must be done, of course, but the polyfiber cloth is the largest polluter which is going under the radar. It is sitting on our clothing, on our bodies, constantly polluting everything because the micro polyfiber is just getting into everything. There are no poignant pictures of a turtle being trapped in a plastic bag or something like that, but we are all those turtles stuck in these things. So one of the things that we are doing is, as you know from your history, that India was the greatest supplier of textiles to the rest of the world at one time. 60% of the world's exports was Indian textiles 300 years ago. It was systematically destroyed during the British era. Over 3 to 4 million people died in about 50 years simply because the industry was systematically knocked down. And that's one reason why when the English left, nearly 91 or 92% of the people were in agriculture, because all these weavers went back to agriculture just for sustenance. That is why such small holdings all over the place and agriculture being in such disarray, one reason is because of destruction of handloom industries. To a point where one of the Governor-General said, the fields of India are bleached by the bones of the hand weavers in 1860, because millions died. So having said that, we still have the skills. India is poised, if we do the right things, to be able to clothe the world once again in a sensible way, in a natural way. And in the sense, this can be economically fantastic. We could completely stop farmer suicides and the distress of the farmer if part of the agriculture is towards generating natural fiber. We have various natural fibers in this country. Fortunately, I'm seeing the more high-end fashion designers. Recently, I don't know if you saw, we had conversation with Sabyasachi, and people like this are promoting natural fiber. Well, now that you called me a fashion icon, let me admit this. In the month of October, we are having a fashion show in New York City. Woo! This fashion show, I'm not going to walk the ramp, okay? This is not about showing the apparel, but this is about exposing the top designers in America to Indian textile, the fabric. So 30 varieties of fabric we are already have already transported to United States, it's waiting there. We're going to display this and give this material to them, of some part of it free of cost, so that they can try what they want. And to promote this, this could be a game changer for India's economy. It need not necessarily be handloom, even if it is machine woven, but natural fiber. If natural fiber comes back, there is no other nation on the planet which has the skills that we have. Over 120, over 120 distinct varieties of weaves we have in this country. Nearly 50 of them will die any time in the next 10 to 15 years, because only one old person, one little couple are doing something, their children have become software engineers. And it will die in the next 10-15 years unless we revive, because we must understand this. I don't know if you've ever been to a handloom weaving thing, have you been there? Yeah. In Bangalore, there's a lot of silk saree weaving, you must go and see. At one time, my father believed that I will go into this because the larger family was involved in silk weaving. So I went there to see, I was just 17, I wanted to see how they do it. I was, cocky and like that is working on the loom, they're weaving a silk saree, he's just doing I'm just… I think, at that time I think I'm smart, then I realized that's different. And I'm paying full attention and looking. Simply he's doing this, simply one flower opens up in the cloth, another flower opens up here, geometrically perfect. If you have to put this into your software, it will take so much effort. This guy's got it in his head simply. So, we have destroyed this mainly because of compulsory education. Okay? If a child, if a son or a daughter with their father or mother goes to the loom or to the agricultural field to work with their parents, the parents could be arrested because child labor. So we are determined to destroy all the skills in the country and have millions of graduates who have the attitude of the educated and who don't know how to do a damn thing in their life. So, we push the education system towards only 50% of the time that you spend in the school should be academics. Rest of the time in villages, agriculture, craft, music, dance, folk arts, many things. For the first time, the central government announced about a month ago, 50% of the time is academics. But to implement that, it'll take… the speed at which we move, it may take 10-15 years, because infrastructure, training, you need teachers and everything. So coming to fashion, I think all of you must be style icons in some way. That means you're not just imitating some rubbish that some model or somebody does, something that fits you. Because each body is made differently, there is a certain way to arrange aesthetics for your own self. For your body, and style is also for your mind and emotion, isn't it? Not just about your body. So it must arrange itself like that, and please, maybe right now it's not possible for everybody, at least one day in a week, please wear natural fiber. Many farmers will not die if you do just this one thing. At least one day in a week, wear natural fiber, you may save many farmers' lives because this will be a steady market. If you grow more vegetables, it goes on the street. If you grow less, it's always a struggle. But if part of it goes into producing natural fiber as it used to be in this country, we were the largest cotton and jute manufacturers in the world, but all wiped out. Time to get it back.
So the next question is from Uma. The question goes, life in cities have become a nightmare for girls. Groping, leering, lewd comments in public transport are a norm that girls have to put up with and unfortunately don't raise their voice against. What to do about such upsetting civilization evil?
It's an unfortunate reality. At that moment, I know what is the reaction and what is it that we feel like doing. That's a different matter. But we must look at the larger picture. Why? Why is such a thing happening? See, this is because we are a society in transition. We have sort of given up our traditional ways of doing things. We have not caught up with another way of doing life totally. We're just hanging in between for too long. In the sense, probably 30 to 40% of the young people that you see in the cities are migrants, they've come from elsewhere. One thing is, when you're in a new place, you can afford to be irresponsible. They won't behave like that in their own village, okay? Because there are consequences. Here they are new. And another thing we have to address, if we have to look at it compassionately, is if he was in his village, his mother, his mausi, his atte, somebody would be talking, see, we're going to get you married to that girl, see that girl, that is going to be your wife. Whether it's going to happen or not, that's not the point. He thinks there is a solution for his hormonal struggles. Yes, it's a reality, come on. Between the ages of 15 and 25, this is at its peak. So, even if there is no physical solution, there must be a solution in thought and emotion that he knows that, this year you're going to get married, no, this year the crop is not good, okay, you'll get married next year, they may postpone it 5 years, but he is living in that comfort that there is a solution for him. You take that guy and transplant him into Bangalore city. He's just a wild creature. He's living somewhere, 10 people in one room. Daytime one set sleeps, nighttime another set sleeps in the same room. That's a living conditions, I'm saying. And there is no family, there is no any kind of balancing factor in him, there's no society for him, it's just dog-eat-dog world for him. And for his hormonal stuff, there is no solution. Nobody is telling him that girl is for you. His mind is going crazy. He watches movies, these days pornographic stuff is all over the place, he's watching it on the phone. So he thinks this is what every girl wants. He is unable to think beyond that, you must understand his problem. See, first of all, what puberty or adolescence means is, see, when you were, let's say 10, 12 years of age, you looked at somebody, they were just fine. Suddenly you became 14, 15, your intelligence got hijacked by your hormones. You look at somebody, every bump on their body looks like a world by itself. Yes, this is the reality. Now that guy who is transplanted from a village to here, and his idea of a woman was his mother or his mausi or somebody, now he's seeing young girls here, the kind of girls that you only saw in movies maybe. Now, one drop of alcohol, the guy will pounce on you. Little more push he needs. All these rapes and things you're seeing is just this. Already he's out of control, he's somehow holding himself, put 1 or 2 drops of alcohol in his mouth, boom, he'll go crazy. So this is an unfortunate situation, it's a cruel situation for him, it's a cruel situation for those who are victimized by him. But we are a society in transition, it's time we address our issues directly. Don't go on thinking it'll get solved if we close our eyes and sit. It doesn't get solved. So, as a society, we must debate. Are you going to go back to 16 years of age, you can get married? Or are you going to go back to a place where you will discuss and see how to conduct this society? After all, there are young people, they have their needs. How are you going to address this? We need to directly, head-on, we must approach it, not slinking around it, not hiding behind religious books and this and that. You need to address it, this is the issue, how to deal with it. If you don't do that, this is what they're doing. See, one thing is, when such things are done to you, how horrible you feel is one thing. But I want you to also think, how degenerate does he feel doing these things? There is a certain degeneration. He can only do it when he believes he cannot be caught, isn't it? Because there is a certain degeneration of mind, essentially because it is just like a hungry child grabbing something and running away to eat. He is in the same mode with his sexuality. We need to address this, very important we address it, the sooner we address it, the better it is.
Thank you, Sadhguru. We have questions from the audience now. We will be taking questions from the audience. Logistic members, please help the audience.
You don't look like Mount Carmel.
There is a question on top as well. Yes, please address it to Sadhguru.
Namaste, Sadhguru.
Namaskaram.
I'm Harshita. My question to you is, what do you think about the concept of hell or heaven? Hell or heaven? What do you think about that concept?
I heard it, I was just trying to figure out where you are, what… Is it heaven or… if you jump, it'll be hell for sure.
I won't do that.
So, please sit down.
Thank you, Harshita.
See, those who have made a hell out of themselves are always aspiring to go to heaven. Yes. If I'm sitting here and I'm blissed out, totally, look at my eyes. It looks like I'm always stoned. Yes, never touched a substance, but this is the most complex chemical factory in the world. Is that so? Do you agree with me? The question is only, are you a great CEO or a lousy CEO of this chemical factory? If you are a great CEO, you would keep this all the time, blissed out, right chemistry. If you're a lousy CEO, you produce bad chemistry and you think it's because of this one or that one or that one. So, for some reason people are feeling miserable. Their chemical factory is not going the way they want. They can call it sadness, they can call it misery, they can call it depression. I know in Bangalore a whole lot of people are against me, continuously trying to troll me because of depression business. I'm saying again, for those activists, I'm saying again, if you know how to manage your chemistry, your depression will go. Even if you go to the doctor, he's only going to give you chemicals, isn't it? So do you think the pharmaceutical industry that they're using there has better chemical structures than my body? Do you believe that? That means you're a vested interest, you have investments in pharma industry. So, when this is feeling like hell, we hope that somewhere when we go up there, how are you feeling out there? That everything will be fantastic. What's her name? Arpita? Harshita. Harshita. Harshita means, blissed out. So, this happened in Alabama. You know Alabama state? It's a special state, it's a different kind of state, hardcore religious state. So in a Sunday school teacher was going all out, full rhetoric, full force. And unfortunately, the audience were not like you, they were all tiny tots. It's a catch them young policy. In his full rhetoric, he was going and children were sitting like this. Suddenly he stopped for dramatic impact. He stopped and he said, "What do you have to do to go to heaven?" Little Mary in the front bench stood up and said, "If I mop the church floor every Sunday morning, I will go to heaven." Absolutely. Another little girl out there said, if I share my pocket money with my less privileged friend, I will go to heaven. Correct. Another boy said, if I help people who are in need, I will go to heaven. Correct. Little Tommy in the back bench stood up and said, "You gotta die first." Well, that's a qualification. If you want to go to heaven, you got to die first. So when you die, depending on your culture, we will either bury you or burn you or cut you and throw you to the birds. Yes, one of these things we will do, depending on your culture. So one thing is very clear, you will put your body back into the earth and it's a very eco-friendly thing to do. If you've not done anything in your life eco-friendly, that is one act which will be good. You should not take your body and go. You must put it back into the earth because this belongs to the earth. So you left your body and went to heaven.
You know what is in heaven, Harshita? No? You know? Okay, okay. So, what is in heaven? In Hindu heaven, food is very good. If you are a foodie, you must go to Hindu heaven. Nala himself will cook personally for you. He's the greatest chef. If you go to another kind of heaven, white-gowned ladies will float around in the clouds. If you like that kind of ambience, you go there. If you go to another heaven, you will have virgin problems. If that's what you're looking for, you go there. But you went there without the body. What do you do with good food and virgins, I'm asking? Hello? You don't have a body? These are all bodily problems, isn't it? No body, what do you do with food and virgins? In the Hindu way of life, there is a thing up there in heaven, there is an Akshaya Patra. How much ever you eat, food will always be full. Well, when you go without a body, food will always remain full in the vessel. And they will always remain virgins. So, we have been doing this for a long time. This was one simple way. You must understand the managerial skills of the traditional people. This was a way of managing humanity. You're miserable. You… don't worry, when you go there, everything will be okay. Solace. So if it is a psychologist saying these things, it's okay. But you really made them believe everything is going to be better somewhere, you can mess up your life here, that's not good. Somebody is in deep state of suffering, don't worry, when you go and sit in God's lap, everything will be okay. It's a psychological tool. It's fine when people are in extreme states, but don't brand it and sell it everywhere because it's not going to work like that. So, now heavens are collapsing in people's minds. Why there is such an increase of consumption of alcohol and drugs on the planet is mainly because still people are not articulating it, but in their minds, heavens are collapsing. How many of you are thinking, one day when I go to heaven, everything will be fantastic? Not many of you, I'm sure. But in the previous generation, if you had looked, the numbers were quite significant. So heavens are obviously collapsing in human mind because if you ask three questions, all the three heavens will collapse. Yes. So now once human intellect became active, inevitably it'll ask questions. If you ask questions, these things will collapse. So people are trying to have alternatives right here, that they're getting drunk and drugged right here. So this is the moment. All of you young people must understand this. At this point of time, if we don't raise human consciousness in a big way, if you don't teach people how to sit here absolutely blissed out by your own nature, believe me, in another 50 to 70 years' time, at least 90% of the human population will be on some kind of chemical. To be healthy, they need chemicals, to be peaceful, they need chemicals, to be joyful, they need chemicals, for everything they need chemicals. I want you to know this, 70% of US population is on prescription medication. The most affluent nation on the planet. Why does individuals and society seek affluence? Because the first step of affluence is choice of food, choice of nourishment. The second step of affluence is choice of lifestyles. The most incredible variety of food is in front of you and enormous lifestyle choices are there, and in this society, 70% of the people are on pharmaceutical, prescription medication. This clearly shows if you do economic development without also cultivating human consciousness, our wealth will become our biggest problem. So we are still on the threshold of economic development. This is the time where we have to invest in evolving human consciousness. For all this previous question, the problems that you asked and everything, fundamentally evolution of human societies need to happen. But there is no such thing as a society, there's just you and me. It's only individual people. If you and me evolve, society has evolved, world has evolved, isn't it? Society is only abstract, it is actually all of us individuals, isn't it? So if individual evolution in terms of becoming conscious doesn't happen, you will see 90% of the population will fall into chemicals. When they fall into chemicals, I'm not talking about this as a moral thing. If 90% of the human population goes on constant usage of chemicals, the next generation that we produce will be a generation which will be much less than who we are. And that's a crime against humanity. Every generation, the next generation that comes, must be at least one notch better than who we are. If we produce a generation less than us, then we have committed a crime against humanity, we have taken humanity backwards. And that is what will happen if chemical usage multiplies and it is going wild. This is the time to raise consciousness, that's why we are here with you. To blow your mind without cocaine.
I think Anjali has a follow-up question to that, so post her question, we will continue taking questions from the audience.
So just going back a little, so psychology and psychiatry has been infamously held by the neck because of pills. This is something that, has been like a raising concern in everybody's mind, because at least that stigma of going to counselors have fortunately come down a little, but the fact that people go to psychiatrists and the fact that they are prescribed pills is somehow still there. And the fact of the matter is that when a patient is put on pills, it's not the be-all and end-all of it. They do not stick to their pills for the rest of their lives. They are put on the pills so that the psychotherapy or like the therapy works on them, and little by little they are actually put off the pills. And until and unless that entire procedure of putting you off the pills and making you independently live without the pills happen, the procedure is incomplete. Unfortunately, a lot of these procedures are, left halfway because, people do not complete the term of, their therapy, but the entire science…
You're telling me… I'm not rubbishing the science. I did not rubbish the science. Death simply means somebody who was available to you is now absent, that's all. It is not because one life vanished, you're crying about it. It is just that somebody who was, filling a part of the collage for you is absent, so it leaves a hole in your life. Depending upon how close they were, accordingly it leaves that big a hole in your life. So, what you're battling with is not the death of a person, what you're battling with is the size of the hole they have left in your life. Suppose a faraway relative or a friend, somebody that you know, an acquaintance died, you feel bad for an hour and then you get back to normal. But somebody very close and dear to you passed away, now they've left a huge hole. So your problem is you trying to tend to this hole, which is within yourself. This hole has happened essentially. Now what I say may sound little brutal for people who are in that situation, but one must understand this. If you look for solace, yes, if somebody comes to me who have just lost somebody dear to them, I will also hug them and, protect them and give them some solace. But you must decide whether you want solace or you want a solution to your life. Because today this person will die, tomorrow that person will die, day after tomorrow I may die myself, it doesn't matter. But people keep dying because we are dying kind of people. Let's understand this, all of us, we are dying kind of people. First thing that must be fixed in our mind, we are mortal by nature. So having said that, grief, we must understand, it is on many different levels. There is a psychological grief. In thought and emotion you suffer the loss of the person. But depending upon how much memory you have built within your body with regard to that person, let's say if it's your child or your husband or your wife or some kind of very close bond, then a certain amount of memory is there in your body. We call this traditionally in the yogic culture as runanubandha, that is, body has developed a bond beyond your psychological friendships and companionships and love and whatever else you have. Body itself has done this. A whole lot of people feel this. Somebody close to them died somewhere, they have not received any information. Suddenly they feel their energies are gone and they're like, they don't know what's happened, but suddenly they're almost sick, they're feeling like that, completely drained out. Then after a few hours or few days, information comes that this person is dead. But well before the information came, they will feel this because within the body there is a certain process that the memory starts undoing itself and you feel like you're dumped.
Your runanubandha with your parents or with your children is strongest till you're 21 years of age. Once you cross 21 years of age, it is called as the first quarter. In the yogic way of looking at it, 84 is the cycle of life. The first quarter is 21. Up to 21, if you lose a parent or if you lose a child below 21 years of age, the pain will not just be emotional, it'll be physical. It will manifest in the body because there is a strong runanubandha. But beyond 21, it is largely psychological and emotional. When we say runanubandha, what you suffer emotionally or psychologically, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about physical memories. Bodies have memories. Because what you call as a parent is the basis of this body. There is a very deep memory connection between the two that is at its strongest till 21 years of age. Once you pass that, it is weakened. Is it gone? Not totally gone, weakened. Let us say you are 42 years of age and you're a man, then you still have a reasonably painful runanubandha. But let us say you're 42 years of age and you're a woman, your runanubandha is almost negligible. Not that it's not there, it's there, but very, very low. So, the suffering that you go through is largely emotional and psychological. If you're psychologically very stable, emotionally balanced, you will see you will handle it quite effortlessly because there is no physical turmoil going on in the system. But the same thing, if they lose their husband, that runanubandha is physically painful because that is a different type of runanubandha. A child below 7.5 years of age doesn't have much runanubandha. The mother and father may have enormous runanubandha, but on the other side, there is not much runanubandha. This is not just for psychological reasons. A child below 7.5 years of age doesn't suffer much, doesn't go through the turmoil physically. May suffer because of not being taken care of and those kind of situations if they are there. I don't want to go into the detailed mechanics of what it is, but if you are over 42 years of age and you're a woman and you lost a parent, this is why in this culture, women are not required to do karmas. Karma is done for the dead, not so much for you. But if you're below 21 years of age, it's very, very important you do it because it's both for the dead and for you. It's very important for you because the person who died, whatever happens, happens. But your life can be in a constant turmoil because there is a physical memory which torments you at a different level. Even if you're mentally stable, emotionally very balanced, still there is a certain torment going within you. For this, there are yogic processes with which you can rejuvenate the system. There's a whole system of things to do. Here at the yoga center, we've kept it very alive. For people who lose their loved ones, we do certain processes so that the physical memory is taken away. Once the physical memory is taken away, the psychological suffering can be dealt with by the individual person much more easily. How to perform karmas and kriyas for dead if you are not able to physically do something? The simple thing is to go into a 3-day period of sadhana. Because internally you can do this, beyond a certain age, it is largely for the dead that we are doing it. But there is an element of that, it's not totally gone. Our bodies are never 100% free from the genetic process that we have received from our parentage. There is a way to be above that, but we are not absolutely free. Physical body functions in a certain way. So, just 3 days of withdrawal and a certain type of sadhana, if you don't know anything else, simply just do the Maha Mantra, Om Namah Shivaya intensely for 3 days as much as you can. A minimum of 4.5 hours a day if you do this, you don't have to really bother about that because it's also nice to withdraw, it's a sensitive time, but now deaths and funerals and what happens post-death is all become a social nonsense, that you have to have people at home, you have to serve them drink, you have to serve them food. You know, this… in the Western countries it's become a big thing, even in India, certain kind of thing is building up. It's best that you just withdraw from society and nonsense and spend some private time. When somebody significant in your life passes away, it's important that you withdraw and do something with yourself rather than simply trying to run the social thing like a distraction. This social thing is, people's way of handling their grief is, let's go to the movie, let's read a book, let's watch the television. Don't look for distractions. When there are troubles within us, we must address it head on. Don't look for distractions. Distraction is not a solution.
Until the next adventure, stay connected for more inspiring content, and don't forget to invite your friends to join us on this journey of learning and evolution.